What is a fact that can possibly save your life? If a tornado looks like it isn't moving, it's heading right towards you. I've never been in one, but apparently if one is near it sounds like a train. There's a video of an old man recording an F4 tornado as bears down on his house. The sound of it is absolutely horrific. Maybe not your life, but someone else's. Most drowning is silent. The victim quite literally cannot speak to call for help, as they are too desperately trying to get any air at all. Drowning can look simply like a person bobbing in the water until they no longer come back up. Keep a watch out. Especially if it's kids. I came here to comment something about drowning. I've seen lots and lots, maybe hundreds, of people in the early stages of drowning, and it's definitely not at all like the movies. The movement of the swimmer can alert you to the fact that they're drowning. Most swimmers, in my experience, exhibit what we call climbing the ladder. Their face is upturned as they gasp for air, and you can see their arms furiously moving, as if they are trying to literally climb a ladder out of the water. It's pretty well explained in this video. Link. I've only had a handful of incidents where the swimmer has shouted/screamed. Definitely the exception to the rule. Always pays to be vigilant around water, it's pretty unforgiving. And please always have eyes on children as they play in/around water. Drowning can happen ridiculously quickly. What typically causes someone who can otherwise swim to enter the early stages of drowning? The only thing I can imagine is being pulled under by a current or object. This is a New Zealand specific one, but all emergency numbers work here. The official number is 111. But 999,911, etc. will all work. This is so that tourists can still reach emergency services easily. Double check advices in this thread with your own research. Probably the best advice in this thread. Let me check that. If you are ever buried in rubble, earthquake, tornado, building collapse etc. don't shout. You'll lose your voice and waste energy. Instead, grab a piece of rubble and knock in patterns of 3s. Humans are expert pattern makers and pattern noticers. Rescuers will hear the distinctive pattern sound and go toward it. Once you can hear people, then use your voice. Edit. Cite my source. I learned this from the podcast The Big One. It's about how to realistically survive a massive earthquake day by day with certain scenarios. Do not delay getting out of a burning building. The flames are not what will kill you. The smoke will get very thick and toxic very quickly, and you will not be able to see the way to get out. Stay low and go, go, go. The oxygen is down near the floor. And don't think a handkerchief over your face will do shit. A wet towel can help in tandem with staying low. Keep the smoke from burning your lungs. But yay, it's not like you'll be able to just walk out normally doing that. All firearms are loaded. Even if they are not, they are. If your car goes into the water, open the door or roll down the windows immediately. If you don't, the pressure differential will hold them shut, and you'll have to wait until the car fills up with water. Edit. A lot of people are telling me that on newer cars, the headrest poles can be used to break a window. I'm not sure if that's true, because headrests I've seen are just made of ordinary steel, and the ends aren't particularly pointy. A dedicated window breaker will have a sharp point made of an ultra hard material. Does anyone know if newer headrests are actually made for this? Edit 2. It seems headrests are not designed specifically to break windows, but they can in a pinch if the proper technique is used, and they can actually be removed. Putting the point in the corner of the window and slamming the headrest. My buddy did a master's thesis on exactly this, and I was able to test out this scenario several times. If you go into the water, get out as soon as possible. Don't wait. Roll down the windows and get out. The electronics of the car should still work long enough to roll them down. Don't wait until there is equal pressure. You could be upside down at the bottom of a lake wedged between an object. React and move as fast as you can. Edit. Link to study. Link. But then my interior will get wet. Have you tried putting it in rice? If you get impaled or stabbed, leave the object in and call 911. or your country's equal, that object is keeping all the blood on the inside of your body. If the wound is still bleeding, wrap cloth around the impaled object to try and stem the flow of blood. You can look up how to do a donut wrap, it's super quick and easy. If your cloth's saturated with blood, cover it with another. Never take off a bandage. If you ever almost drown to the point of throwing up water or passing out, even if you feel 100% fine, get to a hospital. Your lungs can unwittingly self-fill up with fluid over the next few hours. Secondary drowning is no joke. More people definitely need to be aware of the dangers. Secondary or delayed drowning happens when a child inhales water into his or her lungs, causing inflammation or edema, swelling. The edema can occur hours or even days after the initial contact with water. Death from delayed drowning is due to swelling of the small air sacs in the lungs, preventing oxygen from entering the bloodstream. Some info. If someone is in trouble and you want to leap in to save them, make sure you have a way to get out yourself. I recently saw a video of a drowning man. Another man jumped in to try and save him. Instead both drowned. I've seen several news stories of someone getting stuck in a riptide and their family goes to save them and then they all drowned. Related, if you're caught in a riptide, swim sideways parallel to the shore. Riptides aren't very large horizontally, so it doesn't take a lot of swimming to get out of the current. From there you can get back to shore. Edit. For everyone who said tread water, copied from below. Link. The answer seems to be both and. Some currents work in a way where floating is the best answer and some are better fit to a horizontal swim. It also looks like it partially depends on the swimmer's competency. Inexperienced swimmers shouldn't fight, or else they can get tired and succumb, while experienced swimmers are able to get themselves out of the current and be aware of the possibility of circular currents. I guess the best answer I can give is to ask the lifeguard before you get in the water where it's safe to swim. Try to stick around areas with other people and know your own limits. If you smell a fish smell in your house, some people also report a urine-like smell for no reason. 9 times out of 10 it means there's an electrical fire. I actually was the hero in this situation. Was visiting my sister a number of years back. Hanging out on her couch. Smelled a smell of urine with a bit of dead fish mixed in. I asked her what that was. She answered, "It's been here for weeks. We think a rat or squirrel got trapped in the walls." That didn't sound right to me. A dead animal would smell different. And for whatever reason, I googled smells like urine. Electrical fire was the first answer. So, I sniffed all around the room. And found it was coming from the plug of an old lamp. Unplugged it, odor vanished. Instant hero. Good on you. I didn't know they could last for weeks though. Similar but not related to fires, if someone starts to smell things that no one else can, it's possible they are having a stroke or other brain damage is occurring. People like to say, burnt toast is what you smell, but because a stroke can impact really any part of the brain where a clot occurs, it can be anything. Always remember fast, face, arms, speech, time. If they can't smile properly, numbness in arms, or speech is slurred, it is time to call for help. If someone has any professional medical training, if you're in a group swap out, when you get tired, if you're alone keep going, until you physically can't, or until emergency services arrive. And of course use the Bee Gees, staying alive to keep the tempo lol. Edit. A few folks are talking about different tune/tempos, or going too hard causing the ribs to break. When you're there you will likely be pretty amped up, so you're probably going to get the tempo wrong anyway and you'll go harder than you did on the dummies in training. As for the legality of breaking someone's ribs doing compressions, in my country you're covered by a Good Samaritan clause and most professional organizations have liability coverage too. Remember, the person is dead if you don't pump on their chest, and there's a good chance they'll be dead anyway. I only know of one instance close to me where someone survived needing CPR. My dad did it because dude is a badass. If you get kidnapped, try to leave as much traces of yourself behind as you can. For example, leave bits of clothing behind, or scratch your arms a lot to leave dead skin behind. This way you increase your chances that a search dog could pick up your scent and find you. I watched a crime show once where the victim left her hair everywhere in her abductor's car. She kept pulling single strands of hair out. When she was taken to the house of the person who took her, she pulled more hair out, touched everything she could to leave fingerprints behind, and even licked multiple places in his house. She managed to escape, and they found evidence of her all over his car and house. Slam shut case. I wish I could remember her name, so I could look her case up. This happened for real. Goddamn. Good on her for being cunning. Side note about kidnapping, if someone threatens you, even with a gun, to get in their car, it may be best to run for it. Most people are terrible shots and don't want to attract the attention gunfire would cause, and once they have you, your odds of a good outcome plummet. Move. It is harder to be shot when you are moving. Edit. Also watch for coconuts, those inanimate monsters kill 150 people a year. Yup. And generally speaking, if someone is trying to move you to a second location, you're going to die if they succeed. Do everything you can to not let that happen. When having a heart attack, you don't swallow aspirin, you chew it. If the ocean is retreating, there is a tsunami coming. Evacuate the beach immediately. If the animals are running, I'm going to follow them. Maybe they are running because you are following them. When will you stop? Can't remember the details, but there was a schoolgirl who saved a lot of people in the 2004 tsunami because she had learned this in school. If your vomit look like coffee ground, you are bleeding internally, you need to go to the hospital. Coffee ground vomiting link. Here's a picture, link, since Wikipedia doesn't have one. Black poop can also be a sign of internal bleeding, though it may also be because you ate black foods, or a slew of other things. The replies to this comment are bringing up. Edit. Poop can reveal surprising things about the world. For example, my friends and I assumed, while eating it, that black cupcake frosting was dyed with something black. Turns out it's an ultra concentrated green instead. Sometimes iron tablets can turn poop black too as a side effect. There are no rules if a stranger puts their hands on you. Yell, scream bloody murder, kick, bite, make the biggest scene you possibly can, and run away as fast as you can. Make sure your kids understand that this is the exception, the time they must draw as much attention as possible, and do anything it takes to get away and get help. Had this conversation with my son the other day. He's a very hyper and loud kid, and I told him, if anyone ever grabs him, he needs to be louder than he's ever been able to be. I also told him, if he gets grabbed, anything goes. Pull hair, poke eyes, anything, all while screaming. We practiced getting out of different holes too. Having children is the most stressful thing ever, haha. I remember being at the park with my sister and her, at the time, 2 young children. I was lifting up the little one, and then running away as the older one chased us. And then it hit me. If I, a small woman, can easily pick up and run with a child, most other people could too. If you're being tied up, puff yourself out as much as possible, so it'll be easier to wiggle out of. Tense muscles, inhale deep and stretch out your arms and legs to make more space. Me and my classmates used to have competitions where we'd tie each other up with rope. It started out with hands, but it went to full body, and we'd time ourselves on how fast we could get out. It was also good practice for tying someone up, since we got to see which methods worked best. I used to pull this trick all the time and get the fastest time. My hands would be really red and there would be lots of marks, but it was worth it. And that, kids, is how I found my fetish. I remember BDSM school too. Maybe not your life, but possibly others. In an emergency situation, pick one person to specifically call 911. In lots of stressful or emergency situations, there are significant delays in calling 911. Some people assume that others will call 911, while other panic/freeze up and don't think to call 911. If you're faced with a situation where 911 is necessary, pick a specific person to contact 911. Wasn't that a psychological effect? If no one is chosen, there's a high chance no one will do anything, because they all think the others will do so. Edit. Well, this also blew up. Reddit's a strange place. Is it the bystander effect? Never pull out a gun or any weapon, unless you are prepared to kill or die. Weapons escalate the situation to another level. If you have a weapon, intend to use it, and risk having it used on you. Soy sauce is deadly if consumed in large quantities at once. So no stupid soy sauce dares or challenges, please. If you need to call 911 and you're too busy helping the victim, CPR, specifically point at someone and say you. Call 911. Instead of somebody call 911. It snaps a person out of bystander's effect and they act. If you're visiting an unfamiliar location like a cinema or concert hall, take a few moments to look around for the nearest exit, then pick out a second as a backup in case the first becomes blocked or cut off. If something happens, especially in a crowded public place, most people's first instincts are to turn around and head for the main entrance, but this is not always the closest, safest, or easiest way out. 9 times out of 10 there will usually be a closer exit. Probably said already, link, CPR is better than no, even if you're unskilled. You literally cannot make the person more dead, as being dead is what predicates CPR. If you have a puncture wound to the chest or abdomen, the first thing you should do is place a non-porous, think plastic bag, object over the wound. It will help prevent tension pneumothorax. A tourniquet is quite simple to put on and can save a life if there is no other option. Place close to the site or near, not on, a joint. Never remove a tourniquet once placed, as clots can travel to the brain and lungs. Also mark the time you put it on. If you're at an accident scene and have no medical training, something you can do is collect information and help calm victims. This is quite helpful as it assists the paramedics with triage and keeps potential injured person's heart rates down. Alternatively, learn how to hold C-spine. If your car ever gets stuck on the train tracks, look for a sign on the crossing arms. This is the railway 911 and has a number to call to stop traffic as well as your exact location. If you've been cut deeply, pack gauze into the wound as tightly as possible, then hold pressure. If you are driving in inclement weather, pay attention to truckers. They are often warned ahead of time of wrecks and things due to their radios. Also, never drive in the rain without headlights. Not for yourself, but someone else. First aid in general is not meant to be the only form of aid a person receives. If you give someone CPR, or use a defibrillator on them, or they have a severe allergic reaction requiring an EpiPen, you should still call emergency services immediately. These are just temporary measures to buy time until a medical professional can treat them more thoroughly. Similarly, chewing aspirin for a suspected heart attack still requires emergency services to treat the issue or rule out complications. If you have to perform CPR, you can follow the beat of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees or Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. But don't sing Another One Bites the Dust as you do it. It's not what people want to hear. When you're in Australia, mostly on beaches, do not touch the tiny adorable octopus with blue rings. It's venomous and will usually kill you. In fact, don't touch any snakes or spiders or marine life. A lot of it is poisonous, venomous, or will kill you in other ways. Don't let this stop you from coming to Australia though. Most of the humans are pretty nice. Edit. Word mix up. Edit 2. Holy crap, my biggest comment is about not poking Australian animals. Not life-saving but FKN useful. If you have a splinter and can't get it out, cut off a tiny piece of new soap, put over where it is, and put plaster/band-aid over it. Next morning peel off the plaster, and whatever the splinter is stuck in the soap. If you're lost in the wilderness and need something sharp to hunt/defend with, make a spear by hardening a soaked branch/stick over a fire. The water prevents the stick from burning, but the heat from the fire forces the branch to condense and harden, making them more durable. Heart attack symptoms in woman. 1. Uncomfortable pressure, squeezing, fullness or pain in the center of your chest. It lasts more than a few minutes, or goes away and comes back. 2. Pain or discomfort in one or both arms, the back, neck, jaw, or stomach. 3. Shortness of breath with or without chest discomfort. 4. Other signs such as breaking out in a cold sweat, nausea, or lightheadedness. 5. As with men, women's most common heart attack symptom is chest pain, or discomfort. But women are somewhat more likely than men to experience some of the other common symptoms, particularly shortness of breath, nausea/vomiting, and back or jaw pain. And X200B. Source link. And X200B. Edit to add some possible symptoms that have been mentioned in the comments. Sense of impending doom. Upper back pain. Symptoms like having a regular cold. I would also like to add that these symptoms can also be signs of heart attack in men, howbeit less common. Unfortunately, most of the symptoms are pretty generic. Though if you have concerns, you should always speak to your doctor about your experiences. How to identify if you or someone else is having a stroke. Time is key, so you need to act F.A.S.T. Facial drooping. A section of the face, usually only on one side, that is drooping and hard to move. This can be recognized by a crooked smile. Arm weakness. The inability to raise one's arm fully. Speech difficulties. An inability or difficulty to understand or produce speech. Time. If any of the symptoms above are showing, time is of the essence. Call the emergency services or go to the hospital. Edit. Source with more information link. Never ever place an extension ladder on a smooth concrete floor and climb it unless the feet have rubber pads attached to them. Otherwise there is a very real risk that as you climb higher, your weight will cause the feet to slide out from under you because there is very little friction between aluminum and smooth finished concrete. I've climbed ladders countless times and then one day I did this and it almost killed me. Shattered my wrist and almost broke my back. Life forever altered. This obviously won't work all the time, but if someone grabs you by the arm, don't pull away, twist your arm instead. Your arm goes nearly all directions but the wrist won't. If you have an iPhone, pressing the lock screen button 5 times rapidly will initiate a call to emergency services. Handy for if you don't want to show you have a phone by removing it from your pocket. It will dial automatically. Edit. Older iPhones have a home button and button that locks the phone. Newer iPhones only have sound control and a button to lock the phone. Using sound control and the lock button will bring up the swipe options for emergency, medical ID and turning off the phone, while pressing lock in rapid succession will initiate a loud noise and a 3-second countdown to call emergency services automatically. Another user pointed out that you can turn off the loud noise in settings. If you drive over water frequently, keep a seatbelt cutter/window breaker in your car. Just in case. Do not inflate your life jacket before exiting the aircraft. This is especially true in case of emergency water landings. As any air safety expert would tell you, inflating your life jacket inside a rapidly submerging airplane will cause you to float up to the cabin ceiling, unable to move without help. The right thing to do is to take a deep breath and swim out of the airplane with your life jacket still deflated. Only when you're safely out of the plane should you pull the inflation cord. If you're caught out in a thunderstorm, do not, for the love of God, stand under a tree for shelter. Had a kid at our school get killed like this. Lightning hits the tree, travels down to the ground, up one fluid-filled leg, through the heart stopping it, down the other leg into the ground. Get somewhere that is safe like a car, or if you really need to squat down on the floor with your feet together until it passes. Don't waste time ditching gear like jewelry. Easy way to tell the distance of the storm. Count from the flash to the thunder, divide by 4 miles, and 4 kilometers, roughly. If you're caught up a hill, take extra precaution and preferably plan ahead and just don't go if there's a chance of lightning. Link. If you have an ice breakthrough, in a pond or lake, do not use your upper body to pull yourself out. Place your chest against the edge and only kick as fast as you can to get yourself over the hump. The water splashing around you overflows in most cases and the continued kicking propels you, and you slide on your ribs and belly. Push yourself, don't pull yourself. If you've got a wound on you, even a bug bite, and see a red streak from it following on of your veins, you have blood poisoning. Airplane pressure rises and the masks drop. Put your damn mask on first, as instructed. At 35,000 feet you have 30 to 60 seconds of useful consciousness. Make it count. Treat all head injuries seriously. Even a bonk on the head can lead to brain swelling and bleeding. Also, signs and symptoms for a head injury may or may not express immediately. Get them to a hospital as soon as possible.